Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us again this afternoon as we make critical updates to make sure that our community remains informed as we fight the coronavirus. I want to begin first by expressing my condolences regarding the latest time to date to the coronavirus, and I certainly want to offer our condolences and our prayers not only to the families who have lost family members and friends and loved ones, but we also just remain really in support and in prayer of those who have been sickened by this virus, and to say that we will continue to fight to make sure that the spread of this is halted, that we're able to contain this virus. And so we certainly want to offer our condolences there, and to remind everyone of what we said before, is that this virus is absolutely indiscriminate. That is very important for everyone to understand, that there is no age that it's limited to. It affects every age, every race, every creed. It doesn't matter how much money or how little money you have. It really is very indiscriminate. And it's important because we started out by saying that our elders and those with chronic medical conditions were most at risk. That remains true, but we are also seeing that this particular virus has sickened people of all ages, from babies. I heard of a 4-month-old baby. And we also have a good number of our residents who are between the ages of about 40 and early 50s are the sickest population that we have, that it affects all of us. And it is so important for us to continue to practice the social distancing, to do what we can also to remember the hygiene practices that we've been discussing. It is so important because we can stop the spread of this virus and contain it. But it will require all of us working together. I want to say thank you so much to our Chief Health Officer, Dr. Ernest Carter, and all of our colleagues from the Health Department and Dr. Askew for their ongoing efforts to track these cases and keep the community informed and to save lives. Our Health Department, as you might understand, is working overtime. These cases are not only very tedious, but they're also very emotionally draining. And so we want to acknowledge and thank all of them, as well as to thank all of our county government employees who have adapted very rapidly to what is an evolving situation over the past few weeks. They have continued, many of them, to work through teleworking. Also, those who have essential functions have shown up to duty, and we want to thank them as well. As well as we owe a huge debt of gratitude to all of our frontline workers. I want to say thank you so much to all of them, be it our sanitation workers or social workers, our police officers and fire and EMS personnel, our healthcare workers, as well as those, to be honest, who have remained at our grocery stores and other service workers who have made sure that during this time we've had food to eat. It did not escape me as I stopped by the other day to pick up groceries for my family, how concerned I felt even for those who were still in the grocery store, stocking the shelves and at the cash registers. And so we just want to keep all of them in mind and to continue also to offer our gratitude to all of them. I also just want to say thank you so much before I go forward to Prince George. And I knew you could do it, but how beautifully all of them really did comply with the governor's order to stay in place and to stay home. We have seen that the streets are cleared out, and our residents have taken this whole epidemic very seriously. They have followed our guidance. They have stayed informed, and we just want to say thank you so much to Prince Georgians. I knew you could do it. We're working together, and as a community, we're taking care of each other. These are circumstances that are unprecedented, but you all have really adjusted quite well, and we want to say thank you for that. So now, as our government continues to operate with essential functions, I want to remind you that we do have a complete list of available services that are available on our website, mypgc.us. You can also follow us on social media at CEX Also Brooks, or go to our website at mypgc.us. There are some other things I'd like to mention. I want to go back to Governor Hogan, who on Monday issued a stay-at-home order for all Marylanders. This is a life-saving measure, and it is not intended to scare the community. That is so important. I'll say it again. It is a life-saving measure that is not intended to frighten our community. In essence, what it requires is for us to stay home unless there is an essential purpose for us to be out and about. What this means is that you still may go to the grocery store, you may go to your financial institutions, you may also go to care for loved ones, to get medical care, to get outside for exercise, as long as you are practicing social distancing. While it is okay for you to take a walk with a family member, it is not permitted to have groups hanging out at strip malls or to play pickup basketball. I drove by yesterday and saw about 20 people on a basketball court. This is unsafe and unwise, and we don't want people out on basketball courts. We had to close down our playgrounds because it is unsafe for our children to be on playgrounds or to be involved in soccer games. These are the kind of things that we do not want to happen, and our local law enforcement will be enforcing this order, and people who are not abiding by the governor's order will be requested to disperse. Those who do not comply will face criminal charges, fines, or jail times. But I want to be abundantly clear. That really ought to be the last resort. Our law enforcement officers do not wish to have to arrest people. Please don't have that happen. We expect Prince Georgians, and I know that they will, to simply comply with the order. It is for your safety, and it is to ensure that everyone stays safe while we hunker down until this storm passes. So I know that many of you are as concerned as I am. You're inside, but I also want to mention a couple of things that are very troubling. I have had a constant conversation with our Chief Administrative Judge, Judge Tillerson Adams, as well as Judge Lisa Hall Johnson, who have made me aware that, of course, they are seeing a precipitous spike in domestic violence cases. This is something that is, of course, of great concern to us, and so it's important to remind everyone that our district court commissioner's office in both Upper Marlboro and Hyattsville are still open 24 hours a day. They are accepting and issuing domestic violence petitions, and so for those who are who have concerns for their own safety or for the safety of a loved one, please reach out. We are here 24 hours a day to make sure that we keep everyone safe. I'd also like to remind our residents that even though our Department of Social Services is still closed, you can get help with medical assistance and health insurance matters by calling 1-855-642-8572 or online at marylandhealthconnection.gov. And so we want people to know that those benefits still remain available. And I mentioned the Commissioner's Office, but I also want our residents to know that the Family Justice Center is still offering services to those who suffer beneath domestic violence, and they may call 301-780-8008. And an intake specialist will return your call. Leave a message and someone will return the call. If it is an emergency, call 911. But I want you to know that we are still here for you. In addition, the Office of the Sheriff continues to serve peace and protective orders throughout the county, and their special victims assistants are still available to support victims of domestic violence and can be reached at 301-780-8426. And don't worry, we'll make sure we post all of these phone numbers and email addresses for everyone to be able to get to. So as we comply with this stay-at-home order, we also want you to remember that our employees continue to provide essential functions and programs, as well as first responders, those who are at our landfills, are ensuring that we're ensuring that as those individuals work, they have the proper gear on. We're making sure that they follow the proper precautions as well, because we want to make sure that they are safe. And you should know that we continue to deep clean all of our county buildings and facilities. And while we are cleaning over the next few weeks, we have about 2 million square feet of office space, and we're ensuring that everything is disinfected so that our employees who must come in are still safe. You will hear in a moment from Dr. Golson, who will give you updates regarding the school system and our school children. And you will also hear from Angie Rogers, who will give you updates regarding assistance that is available for small businesses. I want you to know also that over this time, we are preparing for a surge. You should know that although we are seeing over 350 cases, and you can just see by the numbers how quickly it is escalating, we are preparing for a surge that I am told will come to us in the next 2 to 4 weeks. And during that surge, we have to be prepared to care for patients. And so you will note that we are over at the FedEx Field, where we have stood up in collaboration with the governor. We want to thank him for his assistance and for his support. Also, the National Guard and the United States Army, as well as our health department, a screening and testing facility, which we started this past Monday. We were able to see about 67 patients there on the first day. We were booked solid today. Over about 100 people will be seen there today, and we'll be also seeing individuals there on Friday. It is our great hope that we will be able to have that facility open and prepared to see people 7 days a week. That will be contingent upon us receiving test kits from the state of Maryland. They are waiting for those test kits from the federal government. I don't have to tell you that that's the big issue right now, is the availability of test kits, but the state is working as hard as it can to get us those test kits. We do need them. We have now the ability to test about 100 individuals, and you can imagine we need much more than that. And so the state continues to work, and we'll continue to work with them. We want to thank the Washington Redskins for allowing us to set up that site there and allow us to be able to see individuals who, most especially, many of them don't have primary care physicians. Many of them may not have insurance, but we don't want any person to go without health care during this time. So if you're in need of those services, you must do so by appointment. Please call our health department hotline at 301-883-6627, where you will be screened. And if you meet the CDC guidelines for testing, will be referred over to the FedEx Field. We are also preparing to open Laurel Hospital on April 20th. We have about 145 additional beds that will be available at the Laurel Hospital should they become necessary. So we're really preparing to see an escalation. But again, we want everyone to remember to continue to do the social distancing, continue also those good hygiene practices, and stay at home so that we can flatten this curve and have this epidemic move out of our community. So next, I will turn it over to Angie Rogers, who will give us an update regarding some of the aid that is available for small businesses. But before I do that, I just want to say a couple of things. One is that, again, we are doing everything we can to stop the spread of this virus, but we can only do so with your help and cooperation. This is really, as a community, we've got to do this together. We got to ride this storm out. We're going to make it through this. We absolutely will make it to the other side of this, but it will be because we care for each other and care for our neighbors and do what is necessary right now to save lives. But we are also going to have to care for our businesses, our employees who have lost jobs. So we're going to have to recover. It's going to take us a while to recover from this, but we will do so together. So I'm going to turn it over to Angie Rogers, and following Angie Rogers, you'll hear from Dr. Monica Goldston. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am pleased to announce today the establishment of the COVID-19 Business Relief Fund. Yesterday, the County Council approved $10 million from our Economic Development Incentive Fund for use for this Business Relief Fund. We paired that with $5 million in private and other resources. And so I really want to thank the County Council under the leadership of Council Chair Todd Turner and Vice Chair Walter Hawkins, who's here with us today, for their collaboration in making these resources available. These resources are going to be made available to small businesses in the county who will have access to loans up to $100,000 and grant funding up to $10,000. We're going to use our Prince George's Economic Development Corporation and our Financial Services Corporation as the face and application point for these funds. Starting on April 13th, we will be opening the fund for applications. Businesses will have until May 15th to apply for those funds. I really want to encourage any business who's interested in applying to go ahead and start reaching out to the Economic Development Corporation and Financial Services Corporation. We've been using pgcedc.com, which is the Economic Development Corporation's website, as sort of a clearinghouse for information, both county level information, state level, and federal. But you can also use that website to go ahead and start reaching out about those funds that are going to become available on April 13th. Applications will become available on April 13th. Businesses should really be thinking about these funds in coordination with the state level funding that's available and the federal level funding that's available. You will need to show that you have applied for the state and federal funds to the extent that you are eligible in order to apply for the county level funds. They really are meant to be used together. The state has made available $75 million for loans for small businesses and $50 million for grants for small businesses. So businesses can apply to the state for up to $50,000 in loans and $10,000 in grants per business. And so we want people to think about those funds in collaboration with the local funds that we have available. Additionally, as we know, the Federal Small Business Administration is making loans available up to $2 million per business. And so we want to see businesses apply for those funds as well, packaging them all together to make sure that they can get through this time. We understand that the application processes for those state and federal funds could take some time, and so we're not looking for an approval for those funds, but that businesses would at least demonstrate that they have applied for those funds in order to apply for the local funds. The Economic Development Corporation, Financial Services Corporation, in conjunction with our office, will be hosting a webinar tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. for county businesses. And the point of this webinar will be to go over the requirements for the county COVID-19 Business Relief Fund. We will also have representatives from both the state and the federal government who will be going over those funds as well. This is a lot of information, and we understand that folks are trying to sort through it to figure out how to make sure that their businesses survive during this period. And so we want to provide this forum for folks to get some information, ask questions, and get access to the funds that are available. Once again, I want to just mention the website for our Economic Development Corporation, pgcedc.com. That can really be your link to both to the county, the state, and the federal level funds. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Earlier this week, we announced a plan for distance learning in Prince George's County Public Schools. These new steps will provide families and educators with the necessary resources to ensure our students have the ability to participate in distance learning. The Continuity of Learning program will unfold in 2 phases. The first phase will allow us to submit grades for third quarter and provide professional learning opportunities for our teachers to ensure that they understand how to use the online platforms to make sure that we provide quality distance learning experiences for our students. Phase 2 will be our online learning process, which will begin on Tuesday, April 14th for our students. Our educators will deliver virtual lessons for students in grades pre-K through 12. We will maintain communication with families and students, and we will provide virtual support for students in need of assistance. The instructional time will take place Monday through Friday with modified school hours of 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Students will earn a grade of pass, P, or incomplete grade at the conclusion of fourth quarter. This morning, we began the distribution of Chromebooks and laptops to students who do not have access to technology. I want to thank the Prince George's County Police Department for being at over 80 sites this morning to help assist with traffic and for the distribution process. If by chance you visited one of those schools today and we ran out, do not worry. We will recalibrate. We will get resources from some of our other schools and do another distribution next week. So please stay tuned. Note that it is one device per child, and parents need to bring their student ID or their child's report card. We will continue this effort through Friday, April 3rd, in the parking lot of the students' schools that they're assigned to during the regular school year from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. I do want to ask our parents if they have a laptop, an iPad, or a computer that their child can use during the small window of instruction each day. Please do not go to the site to pick up a Chromebook or laptop. This allows us to prioritize and make sure that we're helping those families who do not have any technology. In addition, the Board of Education approved an allocation of $2 million to cover the cost of internet connectivity for our students and families who do not have access to Wi-Fi during the COVID-19 school closure. And I want to thank Comcast and Verizon for partnering with us to provide broadband access to those families who are in need. In addition, I receive tons of emails daily from people who ask, how can they help? And initially, my way of saying to them was that they could help those families on the weekend who were not able to receive meals, because we do provide meal distribution on Mondays through Fridays. And we still are asking for that request. But each day it has become even more evident that the gap for the digital divide and the inequities that exist in the communities I serve continue to grow. So once again, I ask parents, you can help first by making sure that your child can use the laptop, iPad, or computer that you currently have in your home. You're helping your neighbor by making sure you use the tools that you have so we can distribute to others. The second is we launched a Connect PGCPS fund, which is facilitated by our Excellence in Education Foundation. Through this fund, we have graciously accepted a $20,000 contribution from United Healthcare, Kaiser Permanente, and several faith organizations who have committed $5,000 apiece, and a recent $100,000 donation from a former Prince George's County Public School alum and University of Maryland graduate, Sam Brin. Mr. Brin's donation, in partnership with the Greater Washington Community Foundation, will help Prince George's County Public Schools defray the cost of internet connectivity, ensure every senior in need has internet access for the remainder of this school year. This contribution was a response to the College Board's decision to require advanced placement students to take their exams online with no regard for the students that we serve across the nation who do not have access to technology or the internet. The third way that you can help is that we are beginning to install new access points for our Wi-Fi network at several of our meal distribution sites to allow people to access internet. I urge our local partners, businesses, nonprofits, and churches to help our students stay online by doing the same. With their help, the community can create free wireless hotspots around our county for students who need access to ensure their continuity of learning. We are forever grateful to everyone who has offered to help us and bolster our commitment to our students. Lastly, parents, I do not expect your families to replace our professional educators, but I do know that we are in this journey together, and I truly appreciate all that you have done thus far. Please be sure to visit our website for more details regarding our distance learning plan and internet resources. And should you want to be a partner with us through the Connect PGCPS Fund, please contact the Excellence in Education Foundation for Prince George's County Public Schools. Thank you.
Thank you. I also want to thank Vice Chair Calvin Hawkins, the County Council, who is here today and who will address us in a moment. But before he does that, I wanted to give you one other update regarding the county's nonprofit community. During this pandemic, we have seen that not only have our businesses been impacted, but many of our nonprofits who do invaluable work for our families during these difficult times. And so these organizations also need relief. And so I am really pleased and want to thank Rosie Allen Heron, who is president of the United Way, of the National Capital Area, as well as Tonya Wellens, President and CEO of the Community Foundation, for their hard work and dedication in ensuring that critical dollars are being made available to our nonprofits. You heard a bit about Sam Brent a moment ago, but I'm pleased to announce that through his generous donation of $900,000, we have been able to offer $800,000 to the Community Foundation that is now available to support local nonprofits and small businesses responding to the COVID crisis. The first $550,000 will go to 19 local nonprofit organizations who are providing direct services and support to address the immediate health and economic needs of individuals, youth, and families who are disproportionately impacted by this COVID crisis and who live in disproportionately impacted communities. There's an additional $100,000 that you just heard Dr. Monica Golson talk about that was used to purchase new devices for students to be able to access distance learning, and another $250,000 which has been directed to the United Way to support small businesses in the county that are assisting with the coordination of food relief efforts. And so I want to just say thank you so much to the United Way and also to the Prince George's County Community Foundation for their partnership. Right now, we in Prince George's County have exceeded 10,000 layoffs and have seen a 28% increase in unemployed residents. So these numbers are only expected to rise in the coming weeks, which is why all of the assistance that can be offered is so important. One other area is the federal stimulus does include unemployment insurance and other benefits for our nation's workers. And so we want to announce as well that Employ Prince George's County is launching the Prince George's County COVID-19 Hourly Employee Assistance Fund. This fund is available for hourly workers who earn less than $19 an hour, giving Prince George's County residents access to Employ Prince George's County's cash card of up to $200. You should know that various retailers, grocers, and restaurants in Prince George's County will be offering discounts for those individuals who get that card through Employ Prince George's. We will be accepting applications beginning on April 6th at www.employpgedge.com. Again, that's employpgedge.com for those who need those benefits as well. You should also know that there are child care programs that have been established to assist our essential personnel who are working during these times. Those programs can be found at Locate Child Care Resource. There's a telephone number that is available for those who need that assistance at 877-261-0060 between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. And again, we will make all of this information available to our community. And lastly, to remember that you can call our hotline at 301-883-6627 for any questions you have regarding the coronavirus and the relief that is available. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Vice Chair of our County Council, Calvin Hawkins, and ask him to come up and give some remarks. And also just want to thank all of our colleagues on the County Council and really throughout all of our electeds in the county who have come together. We've met on a call each Monday. We've had over 100 persons to dial into that call where we've been hosting updates and really just sharing information and resources every Monday. Also want to thank Casa de Maryland and many of our other partners. We hosted last night a Latino town hall for our Latino community. We had over 3,500 people to tune in so that they could get critical updates as well. And so this community has come together, and we just thank you all so much. So Calvin, Vice Chair, County Council Member Calvin Hawkins, thank you.
County Executive Angela Alsop-Brooks, County Council Chair Todd Turner, and my colleagues on the council wanted to ensure that I publicly thank you for the leadership you've demonstrated during this pandemic. On behalf of Chair Turner and my colleagues, I want to also thank your Chief Administrative Officer, Major Riddick, your Deputy Chief Administrative Officer, Angie Rogers, President and CEO of the Prince George's Economic Development Corporation, David Iannucci, and President and CEO of the Financial Services Corporation, Shelley Gross Wade, for their briefing yesterday during our council virtual meeting. Your team, the invaluable information that your team provided to us on the impact of the coronavirus on our county-based businesses and local community was just phenomenal. Their presentation reflected deep thought and a lot of hard work. So to you, County Exec Alsobrooks, thank you for the team you have assembled to address and respond to the coronavirus. Our small, local, and minority-owned businesses provide jobs, resources, and services for all our residents. They form the foundation for economic progress in our community. And because of this global pandemic in our county, and because of this work that your team is doing, we have businesses that are facing closures and layoff as a result of what we're dealing with. They are in trouble and they request our help, and you did not yield from their request, County Executive. You and your team stepped up, and the County Council want to step up with you. This fund won't provide everything that our businesses need, but it will make a huge difference. Together, we are providing critical support to help these businesses hold on to their pre-pandemic workforce and sustain their operations during this crisis. Helping them means helping the county as well. With the key support for our tax base in the county, we continue to look towards you, County Exec Alsobrooks, to continue the phenomenal leadership that you have exemplified. You and your team are second to none, and the County Council are grateful that we have this opportunity during this pandemic to work with you. I know I speak for our entire body when I say the Council looks forward to its continued partnership with your administration and on this and future initiatives on behalf of our residents and businesses during this health crisis. Again, County Exec Alsobrooks, thanks for your leadership.
Okay, with that, we'll take any questions.
Question for the county executive. Could you map out for us exactly what's going on with businesses? You mentioned the number of layoffs, and so can you talk about what it looks like right now in the county for businesses?
So we've seen already over 10,000 workers who have been laid off throughout the county. Many of them are service workers. We've also seen, of course, a huge impact to businesses that have been forced to close. And so we have put together a number of funds, and I can have Angie Rogers come back and give you some sense for them. But we have, for example, the COVID Relief Fund that Vice Chair Calvin Hawkins just discussed that makes available $10 million now. Part of that will be grant funding up to $10,000. We also have up to $100,000 that will be available in loans through that fund, and that has been made available through our Economic Development Corporation and the EDI fund, as well as monies that we've been able to bring to bear from state funding as well. The governor has also made available a state fund that small businesses are allowed to apply for, where they can get up to $2 million in funding and relief there, as well as I discussed Employ Prince George's County, which now also makes available for those who are losing work certain funding and made available a cash card that they can use at retailers to get food and other things. And so we're trying to care for every category, including our nonprofits, who, as you know, provide really essential services to many of our families. And so there have been funding available through the generous offer of Sam Bren, who made a $900,000 contribution, and that money is routed through two entities. One is the Prince George's County Community Foundation. The other is United Way, where we have $250,000 through the United Way that can be made available to businesses. We have up to $550,000 that will go through that community foundation. And we also were able to help to alleviate some of the strain on the school system through another $100,000 for computers. And so we are really trying to meet the need on multiple levels. I don't know, Angie, whether there's
Can I ask just one more question?
Sure.
Before Angie comes up, how important is it that these businesses survive?
Oh, it is absolutely important that these businesses survive. When coronavirus leaves, and we know that it will leave, we must have jobs for our residents to go back to. And so our families' livelihoods are on the line. Many of these businesses who have invested their life's savings and who have built businesses over many years have, in the blink of an eye, been really impacted. And so we are going to have to work together, not only through the funding that we can make available on the county level, but we're going to also access funds that are available through the state and through the $2 trillion stimulus that came from the federal government. And I want to thank our congressional delegation as well, who have been meeting with us also each week. We've met with Congressman Brown and Senators Cardin and Van Hollen, and we want to thank Congressman Steny Hoyer for the work that they've done to make sure that those dollars will be available also to help rebuild our businesses that are the backbone of this community. Many for the jobs that we are losing, we're going to have to be able to rebuild there as well.
Ms. Rogers going to just the loans and the grants and the difference between the two of them, and why should people be applying to the loan or the grant, and how should they make that decision?
Sure. So one of the things that I'll say to the previous question is that there is a really wide range of businesses that are being affected during this crisis. So we're seeing large hotels that have really been affected, all the way down to some of our independent contractors. And that gets to the question of why we have these different types of funding available. If a business is really small or an independent contractor, a grant program might be the best route for them. They may not be able to take on additional debt during this time to see themselves through this. Larger businesses may be able to take on that loan product, and we've got really some really generous conditions associated with these loans, so they're not necessarily meant to act like a traditional loan, but to really get folks through this period, and to make sure that they are able to maintain their employees during this period. So again, it's loan from the county funds. It's loans up to $100,000. And then grants up to $10,000. So if you are a business that has 10 or fewer employees, then you can get a grant up to 50 or fewer employees. And then again, the Small Business Administration funding is loans up to $2 million. And so that's the reason why also we really stress people thinking about these resources as a package, because obviously the bigger businesses, the larger hotels, it's really the federal level funding that's going to be the biggest impact for them in this period, and then packaged with the state and federal, the state and local funding, it can go even further, and then smaller businesses we think will really be impacted by the funding that we have available.
30 million total. 30 million total.
30 million total. So there is 15 million total from the county. The state has made $75 million available for loans and $50 million for grants. And as you know, the federal stimulus package is over $2 trillion.
How much should we say the county is handing out?
The county up to $15 million.
Thank you.
Dr. Ghost, education question, please. You had mentioned about the $2 million up through the school year. What about the distribution of Chromebooks? Is that also through the school year?
So we're doing distribution of our laptops and Chromebooks today, tomorrow, and Friday. And we had 2 schools today that ran out. So what we will do over the weekend is move some technology from schools that have it to those locations and then redistribute to those who need it.
And you said that phase of online learning starts April
14.
What is being done in the interim? Are kids doing school? Are parents guiding that learning?
So this week, our students are turning in work so that they can close out third quarter. Next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, teachers are inputting grades into our grading system so that we can close out. Next Thursday and Friday, we're closed for Passover and Good Friday. And that Monday, we're closed for Easter Monday. And we begin online learning on April 14th.
Dr. Rose, did you happen to get an estimated count right now in terms of how many children will be affected for the Chromebooks right now?
Yeah, I knew you were going to ask that question. Unfortunately, today I actually was out at 2 sites myself distributing Chromebooks, so I do not have the number. I literally left from Largo High School and came here. and started at Charles Herbert Flowers. I can tell you in an hour and a half, we distributed 150 laptops at Charles Herbert Flowers today. And when I got to Largo High School, there was just a very small line, but they also had distributed around 200 in just an hour and a half. So just know that today we did about 70 schools today. We will do 70 tomorrow and the other 70 on Friday.
County Executive, could you talk, I don't know if you have the information, can you discuss where you're seeing most of your infections in the county, in the district? They released numbers pointing to where they're seeing possible clusters in the city. Does Prince George's have that kind of information?
And so, that's it's interesting that you asked that question. That is information that we are now in the process of gathering just for our own purposes, so we understand how the virus is traveling. To this moment, the 350 plus cases that we've seen, we are beginning to map them, and we'll have that information fairly soon. We wanted to make sure that we did not violate people's privacy rights, and so we haven't released information about where the people live, but we are just for our own purposes mapping the virus as we speak, so we can just kind of see whether there are hot spots within the county, for example, where it may be more prevalent. But we don't have that information at this moment.
County Executive, can you answer a question about the June 2nd primary? The State Board of Elections is going to be recommending to the governor that they have no in-person voting sites and that everything be done by mail-in ballot. Do you have any concerns about that? There are evidence, anecdotally or otherwise, to say that minorities and communities of color tend to participate less in mail-in ballots. Are you concerned?
Yeah, we certainly are concerned about that. We'll obviously comply with whatever the Board of Elections decides. But to your point, we are concerned about the impact on disadvantaged communities. The mail-in, we find, generally causes some people not to come out, and so we would be very concerned about that. I want to just raise one other issue. You remind me when you mentioned the June 2nd, if I might just take a moment also to remind people that today is Census Day. We are already very concerned. We're seeing that Prince George's numbers are second lowest, and we are very concerned that we're already very much behind. And so we want to urge people right now that the dollars we're talking about must be available to us, the federal dollars. We depend on those census numbers in order to make that possible. We're already second lowest so far to participate. And we really need people to do that. But back to your question, June 2nd, we're concerned about, but we'll comply with whatever the board decides, but it does have a negative, we're concerned that it would have a negative impact on our